The story begins during the announcement of exam results at a prestigious school. The atmosphere is tense, and students are gathered around, waiting to see their ranks. Among them is a girl named Haiju, who stands confidently with a proud look on her face. In front of her is a boy named Taiju, who doesn't seem as impressed. Haiju starts mocking him right away. She makes fun of him for failing to replace her as the top student of the house. Her words are sharp, and she clearly enjoys reminding him of his failure. Taiju, however, doesn't react the way she expects. Instead of getting angry, he casually calls her childish for taking their rivalry so seriously. He tells her to relax and take a break instead of working herself to exhaustion just to stay on top. But Haiju doesn't back down. She confidently says that the exam meant nothing to her. According to her, it was so easy that she didn't even have to try, and yet she still secured the top rank. Her tone is full of pride, showing just how competitive she really is. Taiju then hits back in a different way. He tells her to know her place, pointing out that she doesn't even belong to a noble family. His words are meant to hurt, and they do, but Haiju doesn't show weakness. She simply smirks and tells him to watch his mouth and focus on improving himself instead of talking nonsense. From this moment, it becomes clear that Haiju is extremely competitive. She wants to be the best at everything, and she hates losing more than anything else. As time passes, the story moves forward. Haiju grows up and becomes a successful businesswoman. She now owns a large corporate company and has built a strong reputation for herself. However, despite her success, her personality hasn't changed much. She is still hot-headed, still competitive, and still willing to do whatever it takes to stay ahead of others. Then the story reveals something important about the world itself. This is not a normal modern setting. It is an alternate version of Korea, where the country is ruled by a constitutional monarchy instead of a democracy. The royal family still holds power, and high society plays a big role in politics and business. On this day, a grand birthday banquet is being held for the prince, and Haiju is invited as a special guest. It is a huge event filled with nobles, elites, and powerful figures from all over the country. Even in such a grand setting, Haiju doesn't forget her business mindset. She sees this event as an opportunity. She wears designer clothes and shoes from her own brand, making sure she stands out in front of the paparazzi. As cameras flash and people take notice of her outfit, interest in her brand begins to rise. This directly boosts her company's sales, proving that she is always thinking ahead. While trying to enjoy the party, Haiju overhears a group of women talking behind her back. Their words are harsh and filled with judgment. They reveal a painful truth about her past. Haiju is actually the illegitimate daughter of a high noble family. The women call her a commoner born out of wedlock and even label her as a psycho. Their gossip is cruel and meant to tear her down. Soon after, she comes face to face with her older half-brother, Taiju. The same boy from her school days is now her rival in the business world. Their competition has not ended. It has only changed form. Now, instead of fighting for grades, they are fighting for dominance in the corporate world. During their conversation, it becomes clear that Taiju cannot defeat her in terms of sales or success. Unable to win fairly, he resorts to attacking her background once again. He mocks her origins and calls her a knockoff, implying that she is fake and does not belong in high society. This time, the insult hits much deeper. Haiju stands there, on the verge of tears, her emotions building up. But instead of breaking down, her anger takes over. Furious and hurt, she snaps back at Taiju, telling him to mind his own business, her voice filled with frustration and pride. Soon, the birthday celebration officially begins. The maids politely guide all the guests inside the grand palace for the royal dinner. Everyone takes their seats at a massive dining table filled with luxurious dishes. But no one starts eating yet. There is an important person missing: the royal prince, Ian. After keeping everyone waiting, the grand prince Ian finally arrives. The moment he walks into the hall, all eyes turn toward him. However, instead of admiration, the queen looks visibly upset. Ian is not dressed for a celebration at all. He is wearing hunting attire, something meant for the forest, not a royal banquet. His appearance feels completely out of place. Still, Ian doesn't seem to care. To him, what matters is that his nephew, Yoon, the one whose birthday is being celebrated, doesn't mind his outfit. Once the dinner is over, Haiju moves away from the crowd and meets the Prime Minister, Min. It's clear that they already know each other well. Min greets her warmly and even praises her success. He acknowledges that she is doing far better than her older brother Taiju when it comes to running her beauty company. But Haiju's expression slightly changes. Despite her success, she knows the truth. She is still seen as an illegitimate daughter, while Taiju is treated as a true noble of the kingdom. That difference still exists, no matter how successful she becomes. Hearing this, Min becomes a bit frustrated, as if he doesn't like how unfair things are. However, before he can continue the conversation, he is suddenly called away to meet the prince. When Min meets Ian, their relationship becomes clear. They are not just allies, they rely on each other to maintain stability in the kingdom. However, Ian looks troubled. He admits that he might not be able to continue handling state matters and foreign affairs for long. His sister is pressuring him to get married and leave his current position. At the same time, his younger brother is still too young to take on such heavy responsibilities. This news alarms Min. He cannot afford to lose Ian's support, as the balance of the kingdom depends on him. Seeing Min's concern, Ian calmly suggests a solution. He plans to use his veto power to block any forced royal marriage. Since such decisions require approval from the cabinet, it is a risky move, but it shows that Ian is not willing to give up his position so easily. Meanwhile, Haiju is wandering alone through the mansion. She is trying to make a phone call, but there is no network signal inside the palace. As she moves around, Ian suddenly appears in front of her. His presence is unexpected and intimidating. He questions her about what she is doing in that restricted area. Haiju becomes nervous. She doesn't want to reveal her identity as someone connected to the royal family, especially as an illegitimate member, so she simply apologizes and tries to leave the situation quietly. But Ian already seems to know who she is. Before the conversation can go further, a sudden explosion echoes from a distance. The sound shocks both of them. Ian immediately rushes toward the source, and Haiju follows behind. When they arrive, they see one of the main halls of the mansion burning. Flames are spreading rapidly, and chaos begins to rise. Ian is visibly shaken as he realizes that the young prince might be in danger. At that moment, his sister-in-law suddenly appears. Without hesitation, she slaps Ian across the face. She accuses him of causing the explosion, believing that he is trying to kill her son. In her mind, Ian is already guilty of killing her husband, the former king. Her anger and grief have completely taken over her judgment. Thankfully, the young prince soon appears, safe and unharmed. His presence calms the situation, and the immediate danger seems to pass. Still, the slap leaves Ian stunned. For a moment, he stands there in silence, as if he is used to being treated this way. Haiju watches everything unfold, shocked at how someone like Ian, a grand prince, is treated with such disrespect by his own family. After the chaos settles, Haiju quietly leaves the palace. When she reaches her car, her assistant Ha-young is surprised to see her return so early. The celebration is not even over yet. Haiju briefly explains that an incident occurred inside the mansion, which leaves Ha-young confused and concerned. As they drive back home, Haiju's mind drifts into the past. She remembers her high school days, when she used to secretly sneak into the archery playground at night. It was a restricted area, and no one was allowed there after hours, but she still went, determined to practice and improve her skills. One night, while practicing alone under the quiet sky, she was unexpectedly seen by someone. The Grand Prince Ian. Ian suddenly appeared and questioned her. He told her that being in the playground at that hour was against the rules, but Haiju didn't stay quiet. She immediately asked him the same question. What right did he have to be there? Ian calmly showed her an official permission letter, proving that he was allowed to practice whenever he wanted. That moment made Haiju angry, not just at him, but at the system itself. She realized how unfair everything was. If you belonged to a noble family, rules didn't apply to you, but if you didn't, you were treated like you didn't matter at all. The next morning in the present timeline, Ian meets the Queen. The Prime Minister Min had sent him there, clearly upset about what happened the previous night. The Queen had slapped the Grand Prince in front of everyone, and that kind of disrespect could not be ignored. The Queen apologizes. She explains that she was overwhelmed with fear for her son and acted out of panic. But then, instead of just apologizing, she makes a request. She asks Ian to marry a woman of her choosing. Rather than stepping away from his responsibilities, she wants him to stay and support the young king as a strong pillar beside him. At the same time, Haiju is dealing with her own problems. She lashes out at her father, who is trying to arrange her marriage with someone she considers beneath her. She refuses to accept it and clearly states that her future husband must be someone she can respect and look up to. Soon, her brother Taiju and his wife arrive. Instead of supporting her, they tell her to just accept the marriage and be satisfied, but their attitude only makes things worse. Haiju quickly realizes that they are deliberately trying to match her with someone weak, someone who doesn't meet her standards at all. Around the same time, rumors start spreading about Ian. People are talking about how he showed up to the royal birthday banquet in hunting clothes instead of proper attire. His image becomes a topic of gossip across high society. While all this is happening, Haiju is still thinking about marriage, but not in a normal way. Suddenly she gets an idea. If she has to marry someone powerful, then why not aim for the highest? Why not marry the Grand Prince himself? Without wasting time, she sends an official request to meet Ian, but the moment Ian sees it, he rejects it immediately. Haiju finds this strange. She isn't used to being ignored like this. Her secretary Ha-young tries to warn her. She explains that meeting the Grand Prince is not easy. He is currently acting as the king, and people cannot just meet him without a proper reason. She is even worried that Haiju might get into trouble for making such bold requests. But Haiju doesn't see it that way. To her, Ian is just playing hard to get, so she sends another request, this time mentioning her noble father's name to strengthen her her identity, still Ian rejects it without hesitation. Now she is annoyed but not defeated. She sits at her desk, opens her laptop, and starts thinking, maybe the problem is that she hasn't given him a valid reason to meet. So she sends another request, claiming she wants to discuss national development. Rejected again. She sends another, rejected, again rejected, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th time, every single request gets rejected. Despite all this, Hydra refuses to give up. Then she remembers something from their last encounter. Ian had recognized her as his junior from school, so she sends one more request, this time introducing herself not by her family name, but as his junior alum. This time, something changes. When Ian sees this, he finally accepts the request. That same night, Hydra goes to meet him at his mansion. As they sit across from each other, Ian calmly asks why she suddenly wanted to meet him. Without wasting time, Hydra directly proposes marriage. This moment connects back to their school days again. During an archery competition, Hydra was competing against Ian's team, where Min was also present. One of Ian's teammates made a rude comment about Hydra, but Ian immediately shut him down. He didn't tolerate anyone speaking badly about her. Even though they were rivals, it felt like Ian didn't want to see her lose. He still tried his best to win for his team, but something about his actions left an impression on Hydra. Now, back in the present, that same girl is sitting in front of him, proposing marriage out of nowhere. Ian remains calm and asks her about her terms and conditions. He casually mentions that he receives many proposals every day. Hydra pauses for a moment, then says she is very rich. Ian laughs, clearly expecting something more meaningful. But Hydra doesn't care about being creative. To her, marriage is just a deal. She explains that she is self-sufficient and won't be a burden to him or his family. She even indirectly points out how his sister-in-law treats him and promises she won't be like that. Ian listens, still unimpressed, and asks what else. Hydra then reveals something deeper. She says she has a strong personality and is used to handling insults. As the illegitimate daughter of a powerful family, she faces criticism every day. Because of that, she promises to stand by him like a shield and protect him from being humiliated again. However, she makes one more thing clear. This marriage would only be a contract. Once its purpose is fulfilled, they would go their separate ways. The next morning, Hydra is seen smiling brightly. Her assistant Ha-young is confused, thinking something good must have happened. But the truth is the opposite. Her smile is fake. Ian has rejected her proposal. His reason is simple. He says he values something more than money, beauty, or power. He values love. Hydra doesn't understand that at all. To her, love feels useless and unnecessary. Still, she refuses to give up. Instead, she decides to take a different approach. She secretly orders one of her employees to gather information about Ian, where he goes, what he does, everything. Soon, all the data is collected and handed over to her through a pen drive. One day, Ian goes out alone for horse riding, hoping to get some peace away from his responsibilities, but suddenly Hydra appears there. She casually says it's been a long time since they last met, but Ian reminds her it has only been 2 days. She pretends it's just a coincidence. The next morning, while Ian is having breakfast outside his mansion, Hydra shows up again. She acts surprised to see him eating at a random place instead of the palace. Ian says he is just taking a break, but before he can leave, he realizes something. Hydra already knows his next plan. She knows he is going to volunteer at a cat shelter. At that moment, Ian understands that she has investigated him, but Hydra doesn't see anything wrong with it. She openly admits that she is trying to get closer to him and even offers to become his lover. After that, Ian tries to avoid her, but it becomes almost impossible. She keeps appearing everywhere he goes, even though he acts distant. Deep inside, he starts feeling a bit tense. Now that she shows up so often, he begins worrying about how he looks. He even considers buying new clothes so he doesn't appear careless in front of her. Meanwhile, Hydra receives a call from her sister-in-law, Gremlin. She informs her that an arranged marriage meeting has already been scheduled for that day and cannot be cancelled. Hydra has no interest in it, but she has no choice, so she goes to meet the man Yeonjun. They meet at an art exhibition, since Yeonjun believes Hydra likes art and even runs an art foundation, but Hydra immediately clears the misunderstanding. She bluntly says she only runs the foundation for money laundering and tax benefits, not because she actually likes art. Still, she doesn't reject him. Instead, she shocks him by directly asking when they should get married. Yeonjun is taken aback. It feels way too fast, but for Hydra, arranged marriage is just a transaction, so there's no reason to waste time. Before he can even respond properly, she changes the topic and asks if he has siblings. When he says he is an only child, she nods, saying that it's better since she won't have to compete for inheritance. Then she says something even more intense. She admits that she wants to marry someone powerful so she can secure her position and even push her brother out if needed, because she knows he would do the same to her. For Hydra, everything comes down to power and money. She is willing to offer as much wealth as needed, but if her partner cannot match her level, then in her eyes, they are simply not worth it. Just when Hydra is about to say something even more brutal to completely embarrass Yeonjun and make him feel rejected, someone unexpected arrives. It is Aid Choi, Ian's assistant. He politely greets them and explains that the exhibition hall actually belongs to the royal family. Most of the paintings displayed there were made by Ian himself. It turns out out Ian loves cats, and many of his artworks are based on them, the soft and calm nature of the paintings feels completely different from his cold personality. Haiju looks around, but she has no intention of buying anything. In fact, if given the chance, she would rather steal a few instead of paying for them. After Aid Choi leaves, Yeonjun finally gets the chance to speak. He calmly rejects Haiju before she can reject him. He says that a marriage built only on money and power can never work. His words are firm, and for once, Haiju is the one left without control of the situation. That night, Aid Choi returns to Ian and shares what he saw. He tells him how Haiju was already meeting another man right after being rejected. Surprisingly, he sounds impressed. He even says that Haiju seems cool in her own strange way. More importantly, he feels relieved knowing she has no connection with Ian's dangerous sister-in-law. Ian, however, already knew that. He explains that his sister-in-law comes from a powerful family known for producing queens. Because of that, she carries a strong sense of superiority. Someone like her would never associate with a commoner like Haiju. Still, Aid Choi can't help but admire Haiju. He describes her as a bit crazy but interesting. She doesn't seem to have many friends and mostly spends time with her assistant. She has never dated anyone before, possibly because of her fiery temper. Back in school, she used to fight a lot, and she never lost even once. Half-jokingly, Aid Choi even says that Haiju would be the perfect person to stand up against the queen if she ever dared to slap Ian again. Meanwhile, the queen sits alone, lost in her thoughts. A dark truth from the past is revealed. The former king had once decided to step down and let his brother Ian take the throne, believing him to be a more capable ruler. But the queen could not accept losing her position. In her desperation, she burned the king's official letter. That fire spread out of control and ended up taking the king's life. Now, she is determined to see her young son Yoon become the king and rule without Ian's support. However, things don't go as she planned. During a major public event, Yoon becomes overwhelmed. The pressure is too much for a child. The guards don't take him seriously, treating him like just a scared kid instead of a king. In fear, Yoon secretly calls Ian for help. When Ian arrives, Yoon's face lights up with relief. He knows his uncle will handle everything. As they enter the conference hall filled with cameras and lights, Yoon begins to panic. Before he can break down, Ian steps forward and gently holds his hand, acting like a shield. Together, they walk onto the stage. The event is meant to honor successful entrepreneurs, and among them is Haiju, recognized as the top CEO in the beauty industry. Later, when Prime Minister Min hears how smoothly the event went because of Ian, and that Haiju won the top award, he feels happy. He decides to personally congratulate her and takes her out to a restaurant for a meal. During their time together, Min is reminded of their school days. Haiju used to tease him for not being as good as her in archery. She was always a perfectionist, always chasing the top. What she never realized was that Min had always been in love with her. Even now, she treats him like nothing more than a close friend. At the same time, Ian starts feeling unwell. Instead of going back to the palace, he chooses to stay at a hotel to rest. Coincidentally, Aid Choi runs into Haiju at the same hotel. After hearing that Ian is sick, Haiju immediately becomes alert. She quickly contacts her personal doctor to check on him. The next morning, news spreads that Ian helped Yoon during the event. When the queen sees this, she becomes furious. She doesn't want her son depending on Ian at all. She finds out where Ian is staying and heads there immediately. At that same place, Haiju is casually sitting with Aid Choi, eating sandwiches while Ian rests inside. She suggests taking Ian to a hospital, but Aid Choi refuses. If the media finds out the Grand Prince is sick, it could create chaos. Suddenly, Aid Choi receives a message. The queen has arrived. He quickly hides Haiju and goes to open the door. The queen storms inside, clearly angry. She heads straight toward Ian's room, but Ian calmly walks out of the bathroom and tells her to wait outside if she wants to talk. Frustrated, she turns to leave, but then she notices something, a woman's bag lying on the sofa. Suspicious, she rushes back into the room and finds Ian standing there, with Haiju. Her anger instantly rises. She orders Ian to dress properly and meet her to discuss this matter. The next morning, everything explodes into chaos. Haiju wakes up to a call from Hae-young. The news has already spread everywhere. The queen has leaked information that Ian and Haiju were seen together in a private hotel room. Within hours, the story goes viral across the country. Photos of Haiju entering the hotel and Ian following behind are all over the internet. Even worse, people start making wild assumptions. A man and a woman entering a private room together can only mean one thing in the public's eyes. And since Haiju's private doctor was also seen at the hotel, rumors spiral even further. Now people are saying she might even be pregnant. But instead of panicking, Haiju just laughs. Her reaction shocks Hae-young, who cannot understand how she can stay so calm in such a serious situation. Haiju doesn't fully realize the consequences yet. Public opinion can be cruel, especially when it involves someone like Ian. His fans could easily turn against her, just like how she was once bullied when she was linked to a famous idol. At the same time, Prime Minister Min is furious. He tries to call Haiju, but she ignores his calls, so he goes straight to Ian's palace to confront him. But Ian refuses to meet anyone. Instead, he isolates himself and gives only one order to aid Choi. Call Haiju for a private meeting. Haiju doesn't hesitate for even a second. Instead of hiding or feeling embarrassed, she walks straight into Ian's mansion with confidence. There is no fear on her face, no shame in her steps. In her mind, she has done nothing wrong, so there is no reason to be afraid of gossip or people talking behind her back. When Ian sees her like this, he is genuinely surprised. Anyone else in her place would be hiding, crying, or trying to escape the public eye after such a scandal, but Haiju is different. She carries herself with a bright, almost fearless energy, as if the whole situation means nothing to her. Still, Ian cannot ignore what has happened. He feels responsible. He apologizes to her for dragging her into this mess and damaging her reputation across the country. As a way to make up for it, he offers her something rare. He tells her he will grant one wish, anything she wants. Haiju immediately sees this as her chance. She starts by bringing up the past, talking about the archery competition from their school days. She reminds him that she once defeated him, but deep down she always knew the truth, that Ian had let her win. She could see it in his expression back then, and that realization always bothered her. She hates losing, but even more than that, she hates being pitted. Then her tone shifts. She opens up about her life, about how she has been treated by her own family. Being an illegitimate child, she was never truly accepted. No matter how hard she worked or how successful she became, she was always seen as someone beneath them, someone who didn't belong. Because of that, she developed a strong desire to rise above them, to earn a place they could no longer deny. And the fastest way to do that is to become part of the noble world. So she says it clearly, she wants to marry into a noble family, and there is no better option than the Grand Prince himself. For a moment, Ian is taken aback. Her words are bold, almost shocking, but at the same time he understands her. He can see the pain behind her ambition, the struggle she has gone through. Still, he doesn't take it lightly. He warns her seriously. Marrying him is not a simple decision. It won't just be a personal matter. It will turn into a national issue. The entire country will watch, judge, and possibly oppose her. By choosing this path, she would be standing against society itself. But Haiju doesn't hesitate. She looks straight ahead, firm and fearless. She says she is ready. No matter how difficult it gets, she is willing to face it all, because in the end, she wants to become someone people cannot look down on anymore, someone they are forced to respect.